Hello and welcome to another Writely Witterings with me, Michael Jex, the tea drinking author, who's got a cup of mainly froth, to be honest, but there's coffee underneath it, allegedly. And it does make a nice change on a cold day. So, what are we going to talk about today? A sad story for you. I have had this Freewrite for quite a while, actually. I think I've had this for about 7 or 8 years now, and it's been magnificent. It has been literally around the world with me. It has got stained and marked and generally filthy. It was in a lovely little felt case for many years. And then our little puppy Bernie's mountain dog discovered it one day. And that was the end of that little travelling case. It was nice too, because it had a flap that came over the top. So it was a nice felt case. And I cut out a hole in the top and I trimmed it with black leather so that the handle would stick out, which made a lot more sense to me. But this thing has been with me on my writing journey. It's written large parts of probably about 20 books, I think. Can't really tell, but about 20. But now it's died. And late last year, I contacted Astrohaus and I said, I can't do without it. And I actually got this because it was sent to me to review. And they said I could have it for 2 weeks to review it. And that was great. And I wrote back and said, actually, that's no bloody good to me, because I'm in the middle of editing one book. That's going to take me at least another week. And if I'm going to give this thing a decent road test, you need to let me keep it for at least a month. And I sent that off to Adam Lieb, who was one of the founders, I think, of Astrohaus, and he wrote back and said, that's okay, keep it for a month. So I had it for a week before I could use it. The second week I used it, and at the end of the second week, I wrote to him and said, it's no good. I'm going to have to buy it because it's made such a radical difference to my writing. And so I invested, I forget what it was 400 or 500 quid back then, but it was 400 or 500 quid really well spent. And I was very sad the other day when I discovered that it wasn't going to work anymore. It's a great pity. So what can you do though? Well, I thought there's one thing I could do. And that is get a new one. So here we have the Smart Typewriter 3rd generation. It says it's got a streamlined interface with no browser or notifications for distraction. Yep, that's bloody good. You will no doubt see little things pop up on my screen as I'm talking. It has a 4+ week battery life, star, and then it says at the bottom, with typical usage of 30 minutes per day with Wi-Fi radio off. So I don't know what that means. A 1+ million page internal memory. Yeah, it's got more memory than I need. High contrast e-ink screen for indoor and outdoor readability. That I find essential. I really do. The screen is so much more clear and easy to read than any of the other Astrohaus products and any laptop I've ever used. I've never yet found a laptop I could use in sunshine, for example. I can use this Freewrite. Full-size mechanical keyboard, absolutely essential. Durable, lightweight aluminium housing. Yeah, not that light, but it's good. Wi-Fi, yes, doobie-doobie-doo. So it weighs about 4 pounds. And apart from that, it's got various pictures of a side view of an Astrohaus and it tells you it's a Freewrite. So what's inside the box? You get a number of things inside the box. You get a sticker. Seriously, why do these firms bother? I mean, it's just this. You get a little user manual. Now, this was very useful, especially since there's a lot of additional functions that were not on my original Freewrite. So, for example, for all those people who used to complain bitterly, nowadays you can move your cursor word by word or line by line, I think it is, something like that. So it has a quick start guide. It says there's the on button. Press keys to get a new document and type, which is the sort of detailed instruction that I like, because it means this thing's easy to use. Bit more coffee, it's still damn cold. So, what is new? Well, first of all, here's the felt bag that, as you can see, was eaten all the way along there. Wherever I put a nice, decent bit of black leather on it, the bloody dog ate it. Welcome to the 3rd generation Freewrite. You will see one radical difference between these two. The new one still has a working screen. This doesn't. I can press that button as often as I like. The battery is completely dead, which is a real shame. I have a friend who's expressed a great deal of interest. He's fascinated by electronics and he wants to pull it apart and have a look. Well, that's fine. I can let him do that. First thing I noticed with this, stupid little thing, but now where you have your USB-C cable goes in to charge it, a light comes on to say it's charging. That will sound pathetic. Did it damage my use of the old Freewrite? No, of course it didn't. But it is a bloody handy thing to have, just to know that it is charging when it says it's going to. Second thing obvious from looking at it is on the bottom of these keys there are arrows. So the ASD and W, all of them, the WS are up and down, A and D are left and right. And if you use the, let's just make sure, if you use the new key, one of the red keys on the keyboard, one there, and then do WASD, it will move the cursor one word at a time, left, right, up, down. If you use new and shift with the WASD, it'll move it one character at a time. So you can do limited editing now. One of the things that a lot of people used to complain about bitterly, which never bothered me, I must admit, was that with the original ones, you could not edit at all. Basically, all you had was, it was like a typewriter, you used your backspace, so you could erase the last word or the last line or whatever, retype what you wanted to, and then carry on. I never bothered with that. I mean, for me, the main benefit of these things is that you don't edit. You switch your brain into just creation mode and keep typing, and that's it. In terms of the basic layout, I'm not going to go through the folders and the Wi-Fi and everything else, because you can look at my videos or other people's videos about them and they'll tell you all about it. But the main thing I do like is that screen. It is bright, it is clear, it's lovely. If you don't want the light on, you can turn the light off, which makes life nice and straightforward. It has the same display here, where if you press the special button, it will cycle through from a clock to the day and date. It'll give you the amount of time you've spent writing. It'll give you an indicator of which keyboard you're using in terms of international keys. It'll tell you the email that you've got set up with it, all sorts of things like that. It'll tell you how many words you've typed, how many characters you've typed. All bog standard stuff. All very nice. What is good though is that there are some other enhancements now. It used to be the case that when you wanted to open a new document, you had the two things you could do. You've got your folder selector here. You can move it to a different folder. I used to work on the basis of correspondence was folder A, my books were folder B, and then articles and other stuff, doing emails and things, were folder C, because it was the way I decided that would work, which is great. Within each folder, you can have a number of different documents. So some people, for example, use folder A as the current book they're working on. Within folder A, they will have a number of different sections, which will be scenes or chapters, whatever it may be. I work in scenes. I tend to find that when I'm writing, I'll write for an hour. In an hour, I'll get at least 1,000 words down, and that will normally be a scene for me. That's the way I work. Other people work in a different way, obviously. But you can have any number of documents within each of those three folders, A, B, and C, which is great, unless you want to go from one to a specific one. Now, I used to find that I always had the first line of each of those sections, because each scene, each section was calibrated in my head, and that was okay, because I would only be working on 3 or 4 scenes at a time. Then I'd suck them all up onto the main computer so that I could edit them, and next day I'd work on some new scenes. But now you've got a document manager. This is nice. So if I take my machine and hold the special key down for a couple of seconds, it doesn't do what I expect. Hold on. Just got to check this. To switch between that, yeah, cycle through consoles grains, yes. Special, hold access to document manager. Hold the special button to manage the documents in that folder. Oh, sorry, it has come up. It just took a moment. So here I've got folder 1 is now is the winter of my discontent. So as I type up, it will be bringing up all the different documents that I want. And the only way you need to go is to press the special and hold it for 2 seconds. So that I like. Come out of that. I've got to remind myself of the other functions here. New and page down would take you to previous drafts. New and page up takes you to the other ones. Wi-Fi selector, connect via USB. It will still, if you plug in a USB connector to the back of your computer, plug it into this, it will look on this as being an extra disk drive, so you can pull things straight up. You don't have to use the cloud or anything else. You can just take it straight from here. Right, device menu is the same as before. So if you press the button, the power button, and hold it down for a little while, it will bring up a whole bunch of different functions. So you can change the font size, the brightness, update your firmware, shut it down. You can also, if you so wish, I like adjusting the font size. This is the sort of size that I find easiest on my eyes. You've also got an additional function whereby it will allow you to add different Wi-Fis. So you can, if you're out and about traveling, you can connect to a hotel Wi-Fi. I have found that's given me problems on occasion. Sometimes if you're being asked to put in your password, I've found that in particular when I was in New Zealand, I had a couple of hotels where that was a real difficulty. But it's not usually a problem. It's just one of those things that occasionally there are glitches with the way that Wi-Fi works. I'm hoping that this one will be a lot easier because it's more modern Wi-Fi, of course. Power button. And that really is about it. Right, the lovely thing about these things is there is very little to them. Now, I know I'm going to get people say, but that's an absolute ridiculous waste of money, because what's the point? You can get yourself a laptop, you can get yourself any number of other things that would do the same job, probably do it better, and you'd also have spreadsheets and mail merge and all the other things you can get with a laptop. Yes. Now, I read on the side of the box earlier on that it will last for about 4 weeks, using it for about 30 minutes a day. I don't use these things for 30 minutes a day. I use these things, this and my iMac, I will be using them for 12 hours a day regularly, routinely. It's what I do with them because I am a writer. I am not someone who plays with spreadsheets in an office. I do not write emails constantly. I try to shut off emails. I am a writer. I need something that will allow me not to have to think about the present day and the modern world. I want something that will give me absolutely distraction-free writing so that I can concentrate. My average time per burst is 1 hour at a time. I've said this many, many times before, but I'll say it again because I'm that sort of repetitive person. When I got my first Freewrite, I also had an Apple, what's it called? MacBook Air. It's over there right now. I can see it. That is ancient and it's basically non-functioning. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. It was light, it was small, and the most god-awful thing I've ever used to type, other than my G4 Apple MacBook, which I had before it, which was also god-awful to type on. Why was it dreadful to type on? First, the keys. Keyboards on laptops are not designed for fast touch typing. They're designed to be flat and slim so that the computer itself can be as slim as possible. And that makes for a dreadful typing experience. What do I mean by a dreadful typing experience? Well, I've had to have operations on that elbow and that elbow in the last year to try to free trapped ulnar nerves. It's called a cubital tunnel release operation, where they basically cut you open and take a cold chisel to your bones, which is deeply unpleasant because you're awake the whole time. Even so, that is a bit like carpal tunnel. It's the same sort of problem, and it's based on people who spend too long sitting at a desk with arms resting on armrests on a chair and typing a lot. That is largely caused by little slim flat keys. These keys are decent, real, individually sprung keys. They actuate over the space of about 0.6, 0.7 of a centimetre, so about 7 mils perhaps of travel. And that means you've got decent movement in your fingers, and it's far better for them. I can type on this for an hour at a time with no problem whatsoever. It gives me no grief. It is comfortable, it's easy to use. The screen is wonderful to use, but the main thing about the screen is it's fixed and the whole thing sits on your lap so you can type. It's wonderful. When I used to try to type on my laptops, I tried it first with the Toshiba, which was bloody awful. Then I went to a MacBook G4, I think it was, which was bloody awful. And then I got the MacBook Air, which I thought would be much better because it's so much lighter and nicer. It was bloody awful. Why was it so bad? Well, were they all so bad? Mostly because of the weight of the screen. When you open them up, that clamshell design, the screen being glass, is heavy. And all the time you try to type, it feels like it's going to be wobbling and it feels like it's going to fall off your lap, which means that you've got to rest the ball of your thumb on the metal of the laptop itself while you're typing constantly. You don't have that with this. This thing just sits on your lap, it is comfortable, and you type. Now, the example I started talking about was when I was taking a train journey up to London quite regularly because I was chairman of the Crime Writers Association. And on the train with my Apple laptop, I would manage usually between 300 and 500 words there and back. It was dreadful. And it was partly the discomfort of using it. It was partly the distraction of different things going on. It was just not good. The first time I took my old version of this with me, I did 3,500 words on the journey. Now, that is a radical change, vastly radical change, and it has remained consistent. My typing has been faster, more accurate, and my thought processes have been clearer while typing. And that's the point about a free write. It's not a toy, and it's not something that is ideal for everybody who wants to type up an email. It isn't. It is designed for professional writers. Some writers will have it and they will use it once or twice a week, and the rest of the time they'll spend on their main computer. That's fine, doesn't matter. But when you're out and about, when you want to be able to move away from your desk, I mean, this is a desktop computer. I don't always want to sit here. Sometimes I want to go and sit in my sitting room. I can lie down on a sofa with this thing on my lap and type. I can type really efficiently, I can type well, and I can generate a lot of work, even though I'm away from my desk. So, what more is there to say? Not a lot, really. I think that the last one lasted 7 years before it needed a new battery, and replacing the battery was a problem, so I've got a new one instead. I have to say thank you very much to Astrohaus because they sent it to me free of charge. Why did they send it to me free of charge? Well, because I've been quite an enthusiastic promoter of the Astrohaus Freewrite for the last, I think 7, might be 8 years. Since they started anyway, and since my first one arrived after I bought it. They are really good if you are aiming to be a professional writer and you want to get words down, and you can afford it and don't necessarily need to have a computer for other purposes. These things are superb for text production, which is what they're designed for, and that's why they're so good. So if I had to rate this one compared to the other one, it looks exactly the same, apart from some arrow buttons on the keys and a little light that tells me when it's plugged in. The keyboard is as good. It's individually sprung keys. It feels lovely. If I could, are there any things I would change? Yes, 2 things. I would have it so that the keyboard would have a click. What do I mean by that? My standard keyboards always have a distinct click when they actuate. It's not necessary. These are just smooth travel keys. But a key that clicks when it actuates, when it actually registers in your brain as well. It just makes it slightly easier when you're typing. It's the way that the old display writer computers used to work, the old IBM PS2s and so on. They all had the little click. They were designed on a spring that would crackle and turn sideways when you got to a certain point. Other ones, the modern Cherry keys, for example, have got a different operation mechanism inside. I don't care. The main thing is these are individually sprung keys. If they had a slight click, I'd prefer that. And apart from that, what else is there to say, really? I love the screen. I love the keyboard. I love the way it works. I rather like the looks too. It's different. And that's about it. So, what am I doing now? Well, folks, I am currently finishing up one edit, which is a book that hasn't seen an editor yet. It hasn't seen a publisher yet. I'll get that out hopefully very soon, because tomorrow, Wednesday, the day before you see this video, I'll be receiving the latest copy edit for Blood on the Sand, which is the second in my Vintner series. As soon as that's done, I've then got to edit, not copy edit, but edit Blood of the Innocents and get that into a new format ready for Boldwood Press, who are my new publishers. And as soon as I've got that done, which will be the end of next week, hopefully, I'll be starting on book 4 in my series, based on Sir John Hawkwood and the Vintners, my group of archers, as they go on their merry way through France down to Avignon, where they're going to meet the Pope. What excitement for the poor chaps. So that, and I've just got a little Bernese mountain dog who's decided to join me. So that is the next few weeks organised, and you're gonna come and say hello. Come on, up you come. Here you go. Meet a little puppy dog who's grown slightly, haven't you? So yes, I've got one book to copy edit from tomorrow. That'll take about 5 days, so that'll take me through to Sunday evening. Then I've got to edit down Blood of the Innocents. That'll take a couple of weeks probably, and then I'll be writing book 4. That'll take 2 months, because that's got to be in before the end of April. Someone wants to climb onto my lap. Oh, she has. And I've got to do all that while coping with a little puppy dog who apparently wants to go for a walk. Wish me luck. I've got a lot of work to do, and I've also got to occupy 2 dogs. Right, that's all for now. Hope that was interesting. Don't bother to write in if you only want to say this is rubbish and you could buy an XYZ thing for $20 that'll do exactly the same job, because they don't. And so, with that, I've now got fluff in my mouth, fluff on my nose, and at least my lap is getting warmer, because it's been quite chilly today. Take care. Thanks a lot for watching. And please, if you could, hit the subscribe, hit the like, and all those good things. And anybody who's interested, if you want to support the channel, thanks so much to the 5 people who have sent cups of coffee and cups of tea, because I'm trying to save up to get a new microphone system, which will make, hopefully, talking here much more clear, but also means that I'll be able to take my phone out with me when I go walking with the dogs and do some videos out on site. I can't do it with the phone because the wind noise across the microphones makes it impossible. But if you could see your way to sending a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, I'd be most grateful, and it will help towards the fighting fund for the new DJI microphone system. And that now is about that. I'm halfway towards getting a new microphone in terms of donations from people here. So thanks ever so much for those who have already supported me. And thanks to all those who are on Patreon and the other places. And I'll speak to you soon. I would put a video up of dogs behaving badly, but I think I've taken up enough time already with this one here. Hello.